Well, my top rated book on confidence is called The Super You. I'm sending it to you, physical book, free. Go to the link down there. You got it.
DreAllDay.com.
Congrats on tuning into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, get a huge dose of personal initiative, go-getter energy for you to go make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast, known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to help someone become a self-sufficient individual. Now, this is something that becoming self-sufficient is something you can help someone do in life in general. Person, maybe you've been helping them out a lot or kind of holding their hand with things that they probably should be able to figure out on their own, getting them information or connecting them with people or situations that they probably should be able to handle on their own. Maybe it's a situation where you've hired someone to work for you and they seem to have to ask you a bunch of questions every time you get them a task to do, things that they should be able to kind of figure out or things they should feel empowered mentally to make executive decisions on in life. Maybe it's just someone you just want to help them get better. You want to help them get to where you're at because you had to become self-sufficient because maybe out of necessity in your life or in your career. Now you're dealing with someone who maybe hasn't had that necessity thrust upon them, dropped into their lap, where kind of things have been handed to them a little bit too easily. Things have come to them a little bit too easily, and now they're in a position where things aren't coming to them anymore. They don't know what to do. They're kind of lost in the situation. They weren't thrown into the jungle to figure it out on their own to survive. Now they're in a situation where they finally had to survive and they're not equipped for it, and you want to help them become more self-sufficient. I'm going to tell you what are the things that you need to do as a self-sufficient person who wants to teach this, how you can help somebody else become that self-sufficient individual in their life, in their business, in their sport, anything that they're doing. I thought of this topic actually because those of you who read my daily game email, in late July of this year, I wrote this article called Anonymous to Anonymous. I actually sent it out to everyone on my email list because so many people who read the daily game gave me such positive feedback on it. They liked it so much I wanted to share it with everyone. So if you haven't read that post, you can go. It's actually on DreAllDay.com as well. It's called Anonymous to Anonymous. I was sitting outside of the Starbucks one day, and there was this guy who I believe he's homeless, as I see him walking around the neighborhood every single day, and he stands out because of his size. And he was asleep at a table at Starbucks one particular morning. And I was sitting there, and there were people walking by, and the cars going by, and this guy did not wake up. So I think he really needed some rest. So he's sleeping with his head in his arms, and I'm watching people just come out of the Starbucks, and they're kind of looking at him kind of funny, leering at him. They just keep walking. Nobody said anything to him. No security made him leave or anything like that. He didn't smell bad or anything. He wasn't bothering anyone. He was just sleeping. So there was this guy in hospital scrubs. I guess he was a nurse or a doctor or something. He walked by to go into the Starbucks, and he's walking really fast. He was like power walking. I've never seen somebody walking that fast unless they were doing it in a race. So he's walking. He goes into the Starbucks. He comes out a few minutes later. This guy in the hospital scrubs, he has his coffee. And as he's walking by me, he sees this homeless guy sleeping at the table. And this guy in the scrubs, now I didn't know what he saw. I just know that he stopped. Right? He just stopped walking. He stopped in his tracks. Then he turned around. He went back into Starbucks, but he was still walking really, really fast. So I thought maybe he forgot his, the little stir that they give you to stir up your coffee, or maybe he forgot napkins, or maybe he ordered something they didn't give it to him because he stopped so quickly, and he turned around and went right back into Starbucks. He came back out a couple minutes later, and he was still walking fast, and he walked right past me this time. He didn't stop. He didn't say anything, but as he walked by in his power walk, he just put a small coffee on the table of the homeless guy. He didn't tap the guy to wake him up. He didn't say anything. He didn't take a picture. He didn't ask anybody, hey, make sure you let him know that was me. He didn't say anything. He just kept walking. He went and got in his car and he drove off. The only person who knows this happened was me, because I was sitting right there and I saw this whole scene happen. And I wrote this post explaining it. And as I was explaining it, I thought of this line that Jay-Z has said in one of his songs. He had a song called Nickel and Dimes. And what he says in the song is, the greatest form of giving is anonymous to anonymous. So I thought maybe he got that from somewhere. So I looked it up. And there's this thing called the levels of giving in life. And you can look this up yourself. Just Google it, the levels of giving. And anonymous to anonymous actually was not the highest level of giving. The highest level is the second highest level. I believe it was 8 levels. So level number 7 was anonymous to anonymous, when the person you give to does not know who you are, and the person you're giving to, you don't even know who they are. So you're just giving because you want to give, and the person who is the recipient of your giving doesn't feel the guilt or possible shame of knowing who gave to them. They just receive. But there's a level higher than that. And the 8th level of giving is teaching someone to become self-sufficient. So this is the proverbial giving a man to fish versus teaching a man to fish. So level 8 is teaching a man how to fish. And that's what we're talking about here in today's episode, now that I've given you that background. Number one thing you do, and today's topic again is how to teach someone how to become self-sufficient in life. Number one thing you do to teach someone self-sufficiency, stop spoon-feeding them all of the answers. Anytime I hire someone to do some work for me, I give a pretty good background of who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing whatever the task is that I want that person to do. I give them all the materials necessary, but usually no job ever is going to give you every single specific detail of exactly what to do unless they're hiring a bunch of automatons, right? Unless you're working at McDonald's. If you're working at McDonald's, they tell you exactly what to do, step by step, every single moment. There is no thought or intelligence necessary to do the job. Right? And that's the way they designed it. They designed a system so anybody could jump into the system and just do the thing. But I don't hire people to be robots. I hire people to have a little bit of intelligence, a little bit of personal initiative, a little bit of go-getter, a little bit of self-sufficiency. Because I want them to take the situation that I'm handing to them, the pieces that I'm giving them, I want them to make some influences. I want them to make some executive decisions. I want them to do some thinking and do some things, maybe make it better than whatever I was doing or whatever I envisioned before I hired them. So sometimes I'll hire someone for a job and I'll give them all the materials that they need, but then they start asking questions. Well, how do you want me to do this? Or what exactly should this look like? Or what do you think about this? Or how do I do this part? Or why is this? Sometimes some people just ask so many questions that I can tell very quickly that they're not very self-sufficient, that they're not a self-starter. They're not an executive decision-making individual. They're not the type of person that I tell them how to do something. See, when I hire somebody, this is what I want. And if anybody who's listening to this ever works for me, this is what I want. I want you to take the instructions that I give you, and if you see a way to do it better, just do it. And then after you do it, come to me and say, well, look, I know you said do it this way, but I figured that if I did this, it would make it better. It would make it easier for you. It's more efficient for me or for us, and it'll produce a much better result. It'll do it in much faster time, or whatever it is that makes it better. You tell me whatever it is that makes it better, why you did it, and then you can say, look, if you don't want it like this, I'll just go back and undo it, and I'll do it the way that you said. That's what I want. Now, I've had people who've done that, and I really appreciate those people. Those are people that I keep around. And then I have people who, they do exactly what I tell them to do and nothing else. They don't go any further. They don't do things any better. Sometimes I'll give them something extra, and gotta ask me 5 questions before they start doing it. Those people don't last. I usually get rid of them, or they end up quitting. But hopefully I get rid of them before they quit, right? Because they're not self-sufficient. They're not the type of people who are just going to say, you know what, I'm going to do this because it just makes sense. When I was in college, my sophomore year, my coach, Kenny Macklin, gave us this packet, this basketball team information packet, and it said, you do not need permission to do the right thing. You just need the courage to do the right thing. See, I want someone who's just going to make the executive decision, do something better, do something that's going to make it better, do something that's going to produce a better result. Then just tell me that you did it. Don't ask me before you do it. Don't lay out all the reasons before you do it. Just do it. And then tell me, and if it's wrong and I'm like, hell no, don't do that, that's terrible, and here's why it's terrible, then you just go back and undo it. But I'd rather someone who takes the initiative and messes up than someone who doesn't take the initiative and doesn't do anymore. I heard Napoleon Hill say once in one of his lectures that the worst type of individual is the person who does exactly what they're told and doesn't do anything else. See, nobody who's looking to build a strong team, any kind of strong organization, whether we're talking sports team, business team, just a relationship team, a team of friends, a mastermind group. You're not looking for someone who just does what you tell them to do, because what do you need them for? I mean, they're just a body, right? If you're just a body, you're just going to do whatever I tell you to do. Listen, I'm going to try to pay you as little as I can possibly pay you, because I could easily replace you with somebody else who just do what I tell them to do. Now, I want somebody who's going to add a little bit of their own intelligence and experience into the situation. That's the reason you work on your game, right? So you can add something to the game, not just so you can do whatever is already told to you. At least that's the way that I think about it. And any of you out there who are employers, you tell me. If you think about it a little bit differently, you let me know. That's it. And the first point again is stop spoon feeding all the answers. See, when someone claims to not know something, I run into people often, or I don't run into them, they run into me, who tell me that they don't know things. Like, they don't know what to do to figure this out. They don't know how to figure out a certain situation. Whatever the problem is, just let them twist in the wind. If you want to help someone become self-sufficient, next time someone tells you they don't know what to do, or they don't have the information, or they don't know the right people, or they tried everything and they haven't been able to figure it out, don't say anything. Don't offer them any advice. Don't lecture them about figuring things out. Don't say anything. Just let them twist in the wind. Just let them sit there and see what they do. See if they're going to figure anything out, because they will either A, figure it out, or B, they're going to perish. Basically, they're going to die in that situation. They're never going to get any better. They're never going to figure it out. They're never going to do whatever the thing is they claim to be wanting to do, right? The one thing that social media and podcasts like this one have done is provide, and it kind of in a bad way, so many answers, quote unquote. We provided so many answers to people that people have deconditioned themselves for figuring things out. And I talked about this on previous episodes of the show. I've touched on this, that the more information that gets put out there, the less people believe that they need to actually think, that they got to take time to actually think. Let me figure this out for myself. Oh, no. Instead of figuring things out for ourselves now, we go to a podcast, or we go to Google, or we go to Twitter, or we go DM somebody on Instagram, or we go read another book, or we go sign up for another online course, or we go attend another seminar to get the information. Instead of just thinking the information, we can figure things out if we would challenge ourselves to do so. But often we're not doing it because of the world that we're living in now. And I'm part of the problem, I think, in some ways, not in all ways, but in some ways, I agree I'm part of the problem. And some of y'all who are content creators, y'all part of the problem too. But next time someone asks you a question they don't know what to do, don't spoon feed them the information. Let them figure it out, or let them not figure it out. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to help someone become self-sufficient. Challenge a person's resolve. Now, how do you do this? This is tied into point number 1. Challenging someone's resolve means give them a little bit of information. Get them a little bit. So enough information that they could kind of get started, but not enough that they could actually get everything done. Get them a little bit and see how determined they are to figure it out. See what they're going to do with that little bit of opportunity. I told you the story many times. I just told it maybe a month or two ago, about Fat Joe. He told the story about DJ Khaled. He said, I gave DJ Khaled a shot glass worth of opportunity. He went and got the whole ocean with that little tiny shot glass. What does that mean? He gave DJ Khaled just a little bit of information. You need to do the same thing with people that you deal with. Get them a shot glass worth of information and see what they're going to do with it. Some people, you're going to come back a year later, they're still going to be holding that same little shot glass. Some people, you're going to come back a year later, they're going to have a bucket. Some people, you come back a year later, they're going to have a truck, a dump truck. Some people, they're going to have a whole Atlantic Ocean. They can't even hold it in their arms. And some people, they're not going to have anything. They lost the shot glass, or they didn't value the shot glass. So get them a little bit and see what they do. See what they do with the little bit that you give them. I remember watching the TV show The Wire. Those of you who watch The Wire, you may remember this scene. If you don't, or you didn't watch The Wire, it's okay. You'll understand this completely. There was this guy named Thomas Carcetti. Now, Carcetti had ran for mayor in the city of Baltimore. That's where the show was staged, and he won. So he becomes Baltimore. And his first full day on the job as mayor of the city, he starts going around to all these offices that are like city government offices and just telling them what he wanted done really briefly, and then just walking away. So he went into this one office of people who were at the streets department. They kept the streets clean and repaired streets and things like that. So Carcetti walks in. He has like 3 staff members with him. So he walks in and everybody straightens up like, oh my God, the mayor just walked in the building. And he says to the guy who's running the office, he says, when I was on my way to work today, this is the mayor talking, when I was on my way to work today, I saw an abandoned car on the street. You need to take care of that. And then he just turned around and walked out. Now, the guy who was running the streets department office, the first thing he said when the mayor said this, he says, well, Mr. Mayor, where was the car? Like, what street was it on? What corner was it on? What neighborhood was it in? These are all things he's trying to ask the mayor, but the mayor didn't respond. And the mayor just said what he said, turned around and walked out of the office. So what is the streets department guy to do in this situation? Now, we're talking about a huge city. We're not talking about a one-stoplight town, right? This is the city of Baltimore. So the only thing that guy running the streets department could do was what? He had to mobilize his whole staff and say, listen, any abandoned car you see, get it off the street. Do it to all the cars. And that's the exact outcome that the mayor wanted, right? He didn't want one abandoned car removed off the street. He wanted all of them removed. But he gave his message very quickly, a very brief message. This is the problem. And the streets department guy had to figure it out. And if that streets department guy wasn't smart enough to figure that out, he probably shouldn't be in a position of being the head of the streets department. I remember watching this TV show back in probably like 10 years ago. Puff Daddy had this show called I Want to Work for Diddy. I don't know if any of you remember this show, but he was hiring some staff members to work for him. I don't know if he really hired these people, but it was a reality show that he had. And Puff Daddy's whole thing was, I'm very demanding. I'm gonna tell you what I need done, and I don't care how you get it done. It may sound impossible, but look, I need a team of go-getters. I need a team of people who will figure it out even when it doesn't seem it's figure-outable. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So he would give these people these impossible tasks and see if they could figure it out. And a lot of time he wasn't even on the show. It would be his staff members would be giving these impossible tasks to the contestants, and they would try to figure it out, and then they would kind of get rid of people. So one time Diddy comes, he's actually on the show this time, and he's telling his woman, I need you to get me a VIP list for this event that we're having tonight. And this woman, in order to get the VIP list, she had to call this person and this person and this person and this person's assistant and all these people she has to go through to try to get this information. And, you know, people are blowing her off. People are like, yeah, I'm going to get it to you, but not doing it. People are like, I'm going to call you back in a half hour. And Puffy's like, I need it right now. I need it right now. He's just breathing down her neck. I need it now. I need it now. So he keeps doing this, and the girl's getting frustrated. The contestant, she's getting flustered because she can't figure it out. She doesn't know what to do. She's not getting the VIP list that Puffy wants. And eventually Puffy keeps saying to her, I need a list. I need a list. And eventually the woman says, in exasperation, she's like, well, no, I can't get the list right now because, and she starts giving all the reasons why it's happening. And Puff Daddy says, I need somebody who can get me my VIP list when I want it. I don't think you're ready to work for Diddy. And then he fired her right there in the middle of the reality show, just because she said, I can't do this thing that you told me to do. I know it sounds impossible. I'm telling you why it's impossible. And he said, well, since you can't do it, you can't work for me. And the whole point that he was making there, he didn't explain this, because he was being the man of few words in the show. He didn't explain this, but what he was saying was, look, if you don't have the resolve to figure it out when I give you just a little bit of information, and you can't go get the ocean with this shot glass that I'm handing you, you're not the right person to work here, because you're going to fall apart the first time we have something like this. Napoleon Bonaparte, that is, not Napoleon Hill. He was the one who I mentioned about a month ago on an episode of the show. He's the one who pioneered the mission statement, right? He would give all his generals, hey, this is the mission that we're going to achieve. Whatever you got to do to achieve it, just achieve it. I don't care how you achieve it. I don't need no explanations. You don't have to ask me 20 questions every time you make a decision. Just achieve the mission. If you achieve the mission, we good. If you don't achieve the mission, you got to answer to me. So give them the opportunity to be self-sufficient enough to actually prove that they can do whatever it is that you want them to do. Third point, today's topic again is how to help someone become self-sufficient in life. Third thing is give people power. If you want somebody to be self-sufficient, you got to put them in a position of power, or at least give them power. Not necessarily a physical position or a job title or anything like that, but let them feel some power. What I mean, what's the definition of power? First of all, is the ability to do something or to act in a particular way. Understand that not everyone has even felt a position of power before in their lives. There's some people who you're going to deal with who've never been in power. They've never been in a situation where they had the ability to do whatever they wanted or act however they wanted. Maybe they've been kind of under somebody else's watch or somebody else's word for their entire lives. So you got to put somebody in a position of power to see if they're ready to become self-sufficient. See, when you empower someone, now they got to make choices. See, a person in power gets to make choices, right? When you have power, you make choices. My choices: do I want to buy this car? I want this car. I want to live in this neighborhood. I live in this neighborhood. I want to date this guy. I want to date this guy. I want to go to this mall. I want to go to the movie. I want to go on vacation. When you have power, you have choices to make, and they don't have to be big choices. They can be small choices. But power means choice. It means options. All right, you can choose what you're going to do or what you're not going to do. Put somebody in a position where they have to make choices when before they may have not had understand, people may not have the resources to make choices. Maybe they don't have the money. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they don't know the people. Maybe they don't have the skill. They don't have the information. There are a lot of reasons why people never have been able to make choices in their lives. They just had to deal with what was handed to them. Now, if you understand what I'm saying, maybe you've been this person. When a person gets into a position of power, now they got to make choices. Now they will realize the ability within them that they never had. They never had the chance to identify, and we're going to see what they do with it. Some people you hand power, they crash and burn because they don't know what to do with it. Some people you hand power, you find out that they have skills that maybe they didn't even know that they had. But now that you're finally giving them a chance to show it, they're doing something with it. So let's recap today's topic, which is how to help someone become self-sufficient. Number one, stop spoon-feeding people all the answers. Somebody claims they don't know something, what to do, how to figure something out. Whatever the problem is, just let them twist in the wind. See what they do with it. Some people are going to quit. Actually, most people are going to quit. Most people are going to fold up and collapse and do nothing and just quit on the situation. And then you're going to have a few those 10%ers. You're going to have a few of those 10%ers who are actually going to figure it out, do something. They're going to become at least more self-sufficient at that point. They're going to figure out that they can figure things out. Those are the people that you want to keep around. Those people who figure it out, keep those people around however you got to do it. Even if you got to create a job just to keep them in the circle, keep those people in your circle. Number 2, challenge a person's resolve, meaning give them a little bit of resources. Not all the resources. Give them a little bit of resource and see how determined they are to figure out the rest. Just like Mayor Carcetti told the streets guy, you need to get that abandoned car out of the street. He didn't even tell him which street, which basically meant you need to get all the abandoned cars out of the street. And if that streets guy hadn't done that, he wouldn't have been in the job the next day. Carcetti would have got his ass out of there. So you got to give people just a little bit and see what they do. See how determined they are to figure things out. A lot of times in life these days, people don't want to figure things out anymore because of people like Dre Baldwin putting out all these podcast episodes, all this information. People think they don't have to go get information anymore. Put people in a position where they got to go get it and see if they actually go get it, or they just going to sit down and do nothing. A lot of times people are going to sit down and do nothing. You'd be surprised. And number 3, actually you wouldn't be surprised. You'd be surprised when they actually don't. And number 3, give people power, the ability to do something or act in a particular way. Some people have never had power in their lives, never been in a position where they had choices that they could actually make, where they really had the ability to make these choices. Empower someone to make choices. They will find out that either A, they're not built to be in a position of power, not ready to become self-sufficient, or B, that they have powers, they have abilities that would otherwise have gone untapped because they've never been in a position of power before. So when you give a little bit of power away to another person, you may multiply that because they get that little bit of power. They realize how much more they have that's been untapped. Now they realize you gave them 1% power. They realize that they got 80% more within them. Now you got your 100 plus their 80. Now you got 180%. All you did was give them 1%. So it multiplies in that way. But you got to be willing to empower a person just to see what they do with it. Some people are going to do absolutely nothing with it. You got to take it back. And there's going to be a few who keep it. Those people who hold on, who become self-sufficient, those are the people you want to keep around. As a friend, as a business partner, a teammate, whatever it is you got to do, find a reason to keep those people around because they're the people who are going to help you win in the long run. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.